Spain vs. Argentina. The 2026 World Cup Final, on the night of July 19th, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, more than 70,000 fans packed into MetLife Stadium for a match that had been building for months. This was not just another final. It was the last chance for Lionel Messi to lift the World Cup one more time, and the first real test of whether Spain could prove their European Championship form translates onto the biggest stage in the world. Let's rewind for a moment. This tournament began back on June 11th, the first World Cup ever hosted across 3 countries: the United States, Mexico, and Canada, and the first to feature 48 teams. It was bigger, longer, and more chaotic than any World Cup before it. And by the time the knockout stage arrived, 2 teams had separated themselves from the pack in very different ways. Argentina, the defending champions, did not have an easy run. They needed extra time to get past Cape Verde in the round of 32. They needed extra time again against Switzerland in the quarterfinal. Twice, they were staring down elimination in the final minutes of regulation, once against Egypt, and once against England, only to find a way through at the death. In fact, Argentina became just the second team in World Cup history to advance through multiple knockout rounds without ever holding a lead in the 90th minute. Only Croatia, back in 2018, had managed that kind of chaos and survived it. Spain's road looked nothing like that. It looked almost calm by comparison. They opened the knockout stage with a comfortable 3-0 win over Austria, followed it with tight, controlled victories over Portugal and Belgium, both settled by late goals from Mikel Merino. Then, in the semifinal, they dismantled France. Spain controlled the ball from the opening whistle to the final one and never allowed the French any room to breathe. It was, by most accounts, the most complete performance of the tournament. So heading into the final, the contrast was clear. Argentina, gritty, resilient, living on the edge of every match. Spain, composed, dominant, seemingly playing a different sport entirely. And there was the emotional weight hanging over all of it. Messi, at this stage of his career, was widely expected to be playing in his final World Cup. Argentina were chasing something almost no team has ever done, becoming back-to-back world champions. Only Brazil in 1958 and 62, and Italy in 1934 and 38, had ever repeated as champions. Argentina wanted to join that shortlist. Now, the match itself. From the opening whistle, Spain looked exactly like the team that had steamrolled France. They dominated possession, pushed forward constantly, and created chance after chance. But standing in their way was Emiliano Martínez, Argentina's goalkeeper, who delivered one of the great goalkeeping performances in a World Cup final. Save after save, he kept Spain at arm's length through a full 90 minutes of Spanish pressure. By the end of regulation time, Spain had already outshot Argentina by a staggering margin, but the scoreboard still read 0-0. The match rolled into extra time. And that is when it turned chaotic. 6 minutes into extra time, Spain thought they had broken through. Nico Williams collected a loose ball after a clever bit of play from Merino and finished it into the net. The stadium erupted, but the celebration didn't last. The goal was reviewed and ultimately disallowed for a foul committed earlier in the build-up, when Merino had gone in on Argentina's Otamendi. Spain's breakthrough was wiped off the board. Then, deep into extra time, in second-half stoppage time of the additional period, the game swung again. Argentina's Enzo Fernández, who had already picked up a yellow card for dissent toward the referee, launched into a reckless, late challenge on Spain's young defender Pau Cubarsí. It was his second yellow. He was sent off. Under FIFA's newer video review rules, the red card was checked and upheld almost immediately. There was no ambiguity in the replay. Fernández had committed to the challenge with no real chance of playing the ball, and Argentina were reduced to 10 men in the most crucial moment of the biggest match of the year. Down a man, exhausted, and still somehow level on the scoreboard. Argentina needed one more heroic stand from Martínez. They did not get it. Just 37 seconds after the restart in the second period of extra time, Spain finally broke through. Ferran Torres, who had come on as a substitute, found the finish that the entire match had been building toward. It came in the 105th minute. The ball went in, and MetLife Stadium turned into a wall of noise. Spain won, Argentina 0. And this time, there was no video review to take it away. Argentina threw what they had left at Spain in the final minutes. There was a nervy moment when Argentina's Simeone met a Messi corner kick at the near post but blazed his effort over the crossbar, the last real chance of the match. Then the final whistle sounded, and Spain's players collapsed to the turf in celebration. Final score: Spain 1, Argentina 0. Spain are the 2026 World Cup champions. For Spain, this is their second World Cup title in their history, and their first since 2010. What makes this run remarkable is the manner in which they did it. Spain became the first World Cup champion in the tournament's history to win the entire competition while conceding only a single goal across the whole run, with wins over for different top 10 ranked teams along the way. It was, statistically and by reputation, a defensive masterclass wrapped around some of the most fluid attacking football in the tournament. For Argentina, the pain of this loss will sit differently than most. They came within one goal, one disallowed strike, and one red card away from doing what only two nations in history have ever done, defending a World Cup title. Instead, their captain, Lionel Messi, closes out what is very likely the final World Cup chapter of his career without the fairytale ending. He played every minute he could, he pushed his team to the final, but ultimately walked off the field a runner-up. The ceremony afterward carried its own share of history. This was the first World Cup final to feature a halftime show, with Madonna, Justin Bieber, Shakira, BTS, and even the Muppets performing in front of the crowd. Spain's captain, Rodri, lifted the 18-karat gold World Cup trophy, presented on the pitch by the President of the United States, who attended the match in person. So where does that leave us? Spain leaves this tournament as back-to-back continental and world champions, having won the European Championship and now the World Cup in succession. A golden generation cementing its place in football history. Argentina leaves as the team that came heartbreakingly close to the impossible, undone by fine margins, a video review, and a moment of recklessness in extra time. And Lionel Messi leaves the World Cup stage, in all likelihood, for the final time, not as a champion this time, but still as one of the greatest to ever play the game. That is the story of Spain versus Argentina, the 2026 World Cup final.